Hello everyone, this is Katharin with Real Chicago and Real 360. With Pride Month just around the corner, I am very excited about my next guest, Daniel Kyri of Chicago Fire, Chicago PD. Hey, so what are we up to right now during COVID, hon?
Okay, so originally, I was gonna be on a hiatus from filming Chicago Fire, like early April, or no, mid-April. And so I booked this television show that also films here in Chicago, and I was all set to start that on May 20th. Now, of course, given the pandemic of it all, I am no longer able to do that project. So I've decided to fill my time by creating some other, uh, just like some other endeavors that I've been pursuing. So I'm in the process right now of writing a couple of pilots, one of which has interest from a network, and so we're sending them some material, and we'll get feedback soon. And it's all very, very, very early stages. But I am still like very excited and happy to be like working and putting, pen to the page and using my voice in that way. So that's what I will be working on until Chicago Fire is back in hopefully July.
All right, well, that kind of leads me a little bit into my next question. I'm a lot like you. I like to both,
Mhm.
rock both sides of the camera and make my own content. And when things slow down, I just gotta keep going. So I
Yeah.
appreciate that. I looked up a little bit about you. Tell me about your previous series that you have streaming. It's called The T. You were creator, writer, director, actor, correct?
Yes.
Tell me about that, right? Because this is back in your pool. It seems similar to what you're going to be doing soon.
Yeah. So, like a while back, I was coming off of this a production of Macbeth, like this all male, like 17 dude cast of Macbeth in Denver. We were performing across the theater from Frozen before it went to Broadway. So I came home and I had like a cute little savings, like all that, ready to go. And then I started working on my web series, and then I stopped working on anything else. And of course, that's the T. And I spent like months and months just like, to get that off the ground and to make it happen. And so the T ended up being this like wonderful kind of like, it was essentially a curiosity I had around what it would be like to be behind the camera, and to sort of create my own content using my own voice. So there are some things that I'm personally very passionate about. One of them being the highest of which is representation. And for me, representation is not just what's like on the camera, like what we see and how we populate the world, although that is a very important part of it. I view that more as visibility. Representation to me is like who's in the writer's room, who
Who makes the
is
decisions?
making up, right, who makes the decisions, and also who's represented behind the camera, like who's on the crew. And so having female and trans and non-binary and POC populate behind the camera and the on-camera world, I feel like is a closer stab to what representation can actually be. So for me, it was an exercise in that, and it was also my first time as a filmmaker. So it ended up being this crash course in filmmaking that I learned a lot. I learned
Of
a
course,
lot.
it's not very easy, is it?
It is not, no, it isn't. And the thing about it is what's so humbling for me about the entire process is um, how much in the making of a thing you recognize is collaboration.
Oh yeah.
Like as someone who was the director and producer and writer, and I was essentially making all of these decisions about what the thing was going to be, it still couldn't and wouldn't have been able to take shape without the other people that I needed to rely on, our department heads, our crew, lighting department, like all of it. And I learned so much about what it means to operate in a collaborative spirit. And so the T is the kind of love slash brainchild of that process. And it's about a Black queer man and a white trans woman who used to date before her transition, and they are now best friends. And so it's them navigating their friendship and their relationship and how to be there for each other in a different context.
That's a beautiful thing. I would definitely back that up. I think so. I wanted to be an actor, and I truly believe that to become a better actor, you should learn how to do everything else behind the camera. And so I
Yeah.
was working like 182 film crews as like many different positions. And I'll tell you, I think it's excelled everything I've ever done as an actor. especially self-producing, self-directing, self-creating. And then you have this ability to have a crew of people, a role, like a family of people that you can call in any time. So I'm really excited to see what else you do. And I'm telling you, you should cast a beautiful Asian lady, inside of that wonderful project.
Yes, yes.
And,
Listen,
I was gonna say, I cast you, you cast me. I got a role for you in something coming up. I'm just saying.
Yes.
A couple things in the works. I could use a little representation on your end. So, but yeah, I came out of the closet when I was 13. I can imagine being out of the closet is tough. I'm one of those pan bi people. I love everybody. It's really tough. But let me know what it was like to talk to Out, and your whole experience with your character on Chicago Fire and PD coming out. It seems like such a monumental experience and really passionate part of your life to have that representation. Tell us a little bit about that experience.
So, okay. I'm embarrassed to admit that I think so I did an entire first season 7 of Chicago Fire. I did that entire season, and it's it's broadcast, so the writers are and also I'm gonna go back to the root on this thing. So essentially, I joined the show, and my character was supposed to have a 2, maybe 3 episode arc, and I've now been on the show for 2 seasons, and so I guess in my work, the writers perhaps saw something that they could kind of work with and wanted to work with, and so they kept writing for me. The tricky part of that is that it's broadcast, and they're sort of taking it in chunks, and as you're acting the thing out, they're catching up to your character and throwing more stuff at you, being like, oh, by the way, you have an uncle who committed suicide and who did this. And so it's information that you're getting as the scripts are coming out. I say all that to say, I started season 8 and I had no idea. I've been operating and not really leaning into any kind of sexual preference or history even for the character, so much as just working with what I had.
You're only getting a little, at a time.
Right, exactly. A little bit at a time, and using those little bits to build more and more into my character. So I didn't know he was gay. I didn't know he was gay until I read episode 2 script, and I was so nervous because I'd been told about it a little bit beforehand, and I got really nervous because I was like, oh, how are they going to do it? Not nervous necessarily about their execution so much as there's so much overlap with my own life there that felt really personal. Yeah. So immediately, of course, the stakes are high for me because I'm going, oh my gosh, how's this gonna happen? And they handled it in such a beautiful, simple way, which I think is the best way to handle something like that. It wasn't a huge deal. It was a line, and in exchange in a bar. Yeah. But so I remember coming up to that scene. I was so I was just so nervous. I was so nervous about it. And I realized in the doing of the thing that it felt like coming out all over again. And it was it just was this thing I had never had an official coming out at all, as a queer person. It just was a moment. I think I came out to myself. Probably when I was
one, right?
Right, yeah. Probably when I was 15 or 16. And then I went to college and I explored and found out who I was. And then from that point, I just was this is who I am. But it was never a, hey mom, you know what I mean? It was never that. And I introduced her to my boyfriend a few weeks back now. And it just struck me that this is the first time that she's meeting a partner of mine. But so, you know what I mean? So it's never happened in that way of I'm gay. You know what I mean? I've never had that conversation really. And so this was for me, that conversation.
This was your big coming out. Yeah.
And into 8 million people, 9 million people or whatever, And so there was a lot of pressure that I think ended up adding to the interiority for Ritter in that moment, which I think was actually really a gift. But after that happened, and I was able to kind of talk to a couple media outlets and stuff about it, the thing that was really lovely about the entire experience is like how many people now, I think you build up in your head maybe that people might have more resistance to like a part of you than they actually do, or like, or maybe I just didn't see the people who have more resistance, but the fan base was so like welcoming and so like warm and like yes, you know, and it was like it ended up being a really celebratory moment for the character and for the series. So yeah, I loved it.
That's pretty incredible. That's what I would imagine is your character stayed on because there was this representation out there that was like, what? Here we are finally. And I'm sure they didn't want to see you to, going anywhere. Of course, in their mind, they're going to kill you off. You're going to end up being like some prostitution if you're gay. But it's nice that they've been able to keep a really realistic character for everybody out there, not just someone that's queer or someone that's not queer. And then it just happens to be that this is an additional layer of his character. It's a really lovely thing, and I can imagine fans really have backed you up.
Well, and it's because too a lot of first responders watch the Chicago series, and a lot of them, or some of them, like especially in the fire department on our show, we get to work with a lot of real firefighters, people who are like coming off of shifts and then like rolling in to do like background work or whatever. And I remember, I think it was maybe 2 or 3 weeks after Ritter comes out, and I remember I was on set and it was like some house fire or whatever, and this firefighter like came up to me and he's like, "Hey, Daniel," and I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Hey, I'm so and so and all of that," and he was just like, he's like, "Great work on the show, and I want you to know that like we've always been out, man." And I was like, "Oh, bet." So like, you know what I mean? Just like a moment where he's like, "Yeah, bro, like we're here. Thank you for that representation. Like we exist. Like there are first responders who obviously are gay or queer or whatever else." And that was a part of the arc, a part of the impact of that moment that I hadn't really registered. And the fact that like, no, yeah, I am actually representing firefighters and first responders and police officers and medical professionals who are also queer, and so yeah, that was just like a really cool like little impact moment that I got to experience shortly after. So yeah.
So here's a fun one. If you could have a spin-off show based on your character, let's say your character just takes over the whole universe and they have a spin-off show, where would your character go in your own world, your own dream world?
Where would he go in my own
Yeah,
dream?
like what would be the big thing that happens to him going down the road in his own spin-off show? And what would it be named? Come on, we have to name this now.
I think, and I think in
Kyri.
my wildest dreams, I think in my wildest dreams, like something like really dramatic happens, and he has to like go into investigator mode, and then he like has to like solve like the thing, and then he like catches the bug and like joins the FBI. So then, so then Ritter, and then like there's like moments I think where Tuesday's and my little dog companion sidekick. But I think like, yeah, I think like Ritter maybe becomes like an FBI agent like down the road, so he can kick down doors and like, I don't know, hunt serial killers or something.
So we should be the queer POC version of like Fox and Mulder. That's it.
Literally,
Done.
that's what I'm talking about. That's the vision.
I'm
okay?
Fox
And
though.
You saw it.
So we have a COVID world, and June is coming up, and June is LGBTQ month.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen this month? Do you think we're going to have parades? Do you think people are going to kind of chill it out? I mean, where do you think the world's going to be in the next month or so?
So here's the tea, if you will, because I have tea. Anyway, so here's the tea. What I really hope is, I really hope more than anything that people get over themselves. And I hope that we begin to think about the impacts that individual choices have on the community and have on us collectively. LGBTQ people and folks, like I'm hoping that we care enough about one another and about our legacy and about our history to celebrate in a different way than we have before in the past. Okay, we have medical professionals and top scientists and virologists and all of these folks telling us, stay your ass at home, okay? Stay in the crib, stay safe, and hold yourselves accountable for the more vulnerable parts of our community. I'm an immunocompromised individual, okay? So, you know, someone like making a decision to like go out and be reckless and do the whole thing, like that affects people like me. And you know, I'm hoping that I've seen a lot of folks, a lot of theater companies, a lot of production folks, a lot of like events and parties, and a lot of, you know, DJ sessions get creative and take place on the internet and take place virtually, where we're all isolated and being safe and still having fun. And I'm just hoping that that trend continues over these people who are out here protesting the, you know, the shelter in place orders, who are essentially being selfish and who are prolonging this thing, if anything. I just want us all to be smart and responsible and caring enough to get out of our own way, because the truth is, if we all stay home now, we'll be out of this thing sooner than later. You know, if we take to the streets and it's like, oh, forget it, like this is pride, this is great, we're out and da da da, we're putting ourselves at risk, we're putting more people at risk, and we're just gonna prolong this thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope that we still celebrate and still have pride and still have a good time and still, you know, don looks, you know, order you a good wig, a shake and go Party City number, okay, put it on.
Virtual queen, virtual queen, Sunday night.
Okay, and do it from home. That's it,
So
sis.
if we had a virtual pride party, you'd be like hosting it, of course, right? You'd be like, yo,
Well,
let
listen,
me MC and host this mofo. See some
look,
jazz
okay, I
moves.
can see the whole event. I can build myself a little float in the crib,
We're gonna
okay?
virtualize some drag shows. Yeah.
I mean,
That's
we can
phenomenal.
get creative, and I think we can still have fun and express and be free. We just can't do it together in a big old crowd, because that puts us at risk. So that's what my hope is and my vision is, so that next year maybe we can, you know, really turn this thing out.
That's fantastic. Well, I have only one more question,
Yeah.
which is so going forward, what is the next like big hobby you're gonna pull off the rest of this month besides filmmaking?
Oh God.
Like, have you picked
Okay.
up cooking, sewing? Where are you at? Where are you at in your domestic hobbying? Gardening?
I
You got a garden?
definitely. Whoa! Well, oh my gosh. Okay, so let's check this out. I actually do have like this little orchid that like I'm tending to right now.
Oh, that's not a
Yeah,
little orchid. That's
I
banging.
know. And like when I got it, listen, like you see this moment here. It was
Yeah.
more of this when I got it, and it's like really like bloomed and like. So I guess like I'm a green thumb now. Who knew? But no, so yeah, I'm writing and still putting self tapes and stuff in, so that keeps me happy and busy and preoccupied. But in terms of hobbies, I definitely want to cook more. And what else do I want to do? Music, I think I want to make some music. I
You
think
play
that's really
instruments,
important.
right? You play, you sing?
I do sing. The only thing I play is these vocal cords. Okay,
Oh,
no, but yeah, I do. No, I do sing, and my partner Apollo is a musician, and my roommate Miranda is also a musician, and we've been coming together and playing with like harmonies and things like that. But we have like a little makeshift studio set up in the guest room right now. So, excuse me, I think I just want to, yeah, I want to write some stuff and make some music happen. I think that would be um, a worthwhile project for the rest of this
cool.
time. Yeah.
That's cool. Well, I look forward to hearing your next album. You
Yeah.
know, can't wait for that to happen. Dance party. I'm gonna let just the universe hear this. You know, Chicago, we're doing a pride party. We got Kyri
Yes.
here. He wants to host it. Letting y'all know his album's coming out soon. I'll take pictures for real and stay in touch. You know, you cast me, I cast you. I'm serious, man. Don't think I'm
Listen,
playing.
I love that you did that. I love that shout out. I love that networking moment. Okay. And it's going to happen. That's it.
I got you. All right. Take it easy. Give me some of your green thumb real fast. Give me some green
There
thumb.
you go.
I got a brown thumb. That's terrible. Terrible. Okay.
No, you got this. It's all about patience and consistency.
I've killed
Like
2 orchids. I don't know. Thank you for your time. I will talk
Thank
to you
you.
soon, I'm sure.
Okay, be well.
Yes, you too. Stay safe. Stay home. Bye. What an inspiring conversation. This is Katharin with Real Chicago and Real 360 saying, see you later.